Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis Runway of Doom. The goddess next door struts her stuff on the catwalk to take on a runway of rogues in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis Runway of Doom at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. One of my viewers wanted me to talk about the obesity epidemic that's been plaguing Black America. Now, when it comes down to the Black community, we have a very large population of people who are overweight or obese, and a large percentage of Black women who have issues as related to being overweight or obese. Now, when it comes down to this issue of obesity, many in the Black community don't want to talk about it. And the main reason why they don't want to talk about it, because it's not really what people are eating, it's what's eating them about living their life here in America. Now, one of the reasons I believe so many Black people are obese is not just because of the high sugar and high fat foods that are heavily sold in Black communities. I believe that a lot of Black people are overweight or obese due to the heavy stresses that they have to deal with everyday life in the system of white supremacy. Now, in this system of white supremacy, Black people have to deal with a lot of stress compounded on the stress of everyday life and those stresses of having to live in a country where you are a second-class citizen and have to live with the constant fear of possibly not knowing whether any day in your life will be your last day of life in this world, and having to deal with the ongoing racism that we deal with every day when we go out on the streets, whether we go out shopping and we're basically being watched by people who want to believe that we're the ones who are going to steal, or we go to work and we have to deal with the stress of possibly not knowing if we'll be able to keep our jobs, because any little thing can set off one of these white bosses as related to them possibly not being able to get onion bagels at the coffee shop, and then they want to take it out on the Black man by having him fired. All of these little stress aggressions can lead to a lot of stress, and that stress can be one of the things that can motivate people to go out here and look to find comfort in food. And as they look to find this comfort in food, this is one of the reasons why possibly many Black people are going out here and looking to go out here and eat a lot of high sugar and high fat foods, because they're looking to find some sort of comfort as related to dealing with the everyday life, as related to dealing with life under the system of white supremacy. And that could be one of the foundations of one of the reasons why so many Black people have become obese over the last 30 years, because as Black people have had to again deal with the stress of living in a white supremacist country where they basically are in fear for their lives and dealing with the stress, if they do, of having one of these jobs, of having fear of basically losing everything, because they can't really feel like they can turn to other Black people. What Black people do is turn to food, and as they turn to food for comfort, this is possibly one of the reasons why a lot of Black people overeat and wind up overeating themselves into becoming an obese person. Now, that whole situation with white supremacy is just the foundation of the stresses of being black. There's also other stresses that many people go through, like in many homes where you have black girls. A lot of those black girls go out here and wind up becoming obese because they wind up having to deal with other traumas, such as the trauma of their fathers not being in their lives, or the trauma of their mothers going out here and being abusive, or the traumas of their mothers going out here and bringing different men into the home, and then those men possibly going out here and abusing those girls, and even in some cases SAing those girls. All of that trauma could be the thing that lead to many black women going out here and looking to cope, because they feel like they can't go to their mothers because their mothers basically are caught up in a man. And since they can't go to their mothers to go get that emotional support, they go out here and start going over to food. And as they start going over to food, they find comfort in food that is sweet and sugary and high fat. And as they go out here and get that comfort, that's one of the reasons that leads to many black women winding up overweight, because they're basically overstressed. And again, all those stresses that they take from their dysfunctional family home, they then take and then gets compounded by the stress that they have on the job. And as they have that stress from the job and the home, it basically leads to them again trying to go out here and find that little bit of comfort and little bit of joy in food. And that could be the core foundation for why so many black women are obese, is that they're trying to again feed all of their problems. And as they're looking to feed all their problems, they're basically winding up putting themselves on a road that's related to dealing with a lot of serious health issues. And when it comes to both black men and black women, they're basically dealing with these health issues as related to dealing with all the stresses of living a life in white supremacist America. And again, all this stress has a lot of people overeating and basically again eating themselves into a grave as related to things, because what a lot of people don't know is that as they try to go out here and eat food to deal with what's eating them, what they don't know is that they wind up with a series of health issues, whether it be obesity, whether it be complications from obesity like diabetes and joint pains, and even eventually, and when you get older, possibly may wind up having to lose limbs as a result of diabetes and other conditions. I mean, all of this stuff gets compounded over time, and as it gets compounded over time, what happens is that many black people, we don't really take good care of our health, of our physical health, because we're still struggling to deal with a lot of things as related to our mental health. And it's those issues with mental health that I believe have so many black people looking to go out here and find comfort in food, and find comfort in food because they don't know how to manage the stress, or even turn to each other to manage the stress. Because when it comes down to black people, a lot of us are not very good at supporting each other emotionally. No, we're not very good at supporting each other emotionally and meeting each other's emotional needs. No, when it comes down to a lot of us don't know how to, again, look to give somebody emotional comfort or emotional support or share love with each other. And as a result of us not having a foundation to share love with each other, what we do is go to the food to be our friend, because we can't find comfort in each other. And that, I believe, happened due to a lot of the homes that basically fell apart. And as these homes wound up falling apart due to many black women getting indoctrinated into feminism, and many black men walking away from their families. Basically, what happened was generation after generation after that. I mean, I noticed that the generation that came up in the civil rights movement was in pretty good shape. But the minute we start to get to Gen X, the minute we start to get to millennials and Gen Z, that's where we start to see this obesity. And I believe the reason why we see this obesity is because we basically tore apart the emotional support system of the black family. And as we tore apart the emotional support system of the black family, many black people out here, they started turning to food. And as they turned to food, this is what led to many black people basically starting on the road to being obese. And according to some reports, again, this is why maybe 60% of black women are obese at this point. Again, a lot of these physical health issues, I believe, are directly connected to mental health issues. Because when I look at my own weight issues that I had been dealing with for many years, I mean, I can look at the foundation of it was basically, again, a lot of bullying I received. And then after I got mugged on the train by the same type of kids, it led to me basically going out here and looking to be by myself and looking to find comfort in food. And that was the reason I believe I wound up gaining a lot of weight, because at one time I was a size 34 and I was 155 pounds. But after dealing with all the bullying about not having a girlfriend and all the stress from all of that situation, I wound up becoming much larger, and then having to deal with the stress of losing a job about 18 years ago, I wound up gaining even more weight. And it wasn't until I wound up with this heart attack and then being diagnosed with diabetes type 2 that I found out that, I was eating myself into a grave and trying to work myself, thinking I could work out of it. But the whole thing was I was destroying myself. And as I was destroying myself, I was thinking I could work my way out of things, but I didn't know that the thing was happening was I was basically eating because things were eating me. Things were eating me about not having a job. Things were eating me about, not being able to talk to people. Things were eating me because I was dealing with a lot of stress. And it's the stress that makes black people eat. And again, living in this white supremacist society, I believe, is the thing that's causing a lot of the health issues many brothers and sisters are dealing with. And this is another reason why we foundational black Americans definitely need reparations. Because if we had economic reparations for the current and ongoing racism and discrimination that basically causes us stress, it could basically alleviate a lot of the pressures we have to deal with as related to life. Because if we didn't have to worry about things like our job situation or worry about being able to survive in this country every day, again, it would basically, the reparations would basically, alleviate our economic and financial situation, which would take a lot of stress off black people. And then we could start working on the other issues. And I believe this is why we do need a lot of black people to start going into psychotherapy and deal and talk about these issues as related to mental health, because a lot of us brothers and sisters, we are dealing with a lot of mental health issues as related to, what's eating us. And what's eating us is causing us to go out here and go to places like these foreign-owned stores, like these Korean and Arab-owned stores, where they go out here and heavily stock a lot of junk food, like Little Debbie snack cakes and ramen noodles and other and a lot of sodas. Again, you don't see that in a white neighborhood. If you go to a white neighborhood, and I've gone to many like 86th Street here in New York, or even in the Village, they've got a lot of bottled water, they've got a lot of fruit, and again, those people are eating healthy because they basically have a different frame of mind where they can focus on their health. But many of us black people, we really can't focus on our health because a lot of us live in fear, and a lot of us have lived in fear from generation to generation, and we've lived in fear of possibly, again, one, fearing that we would possibly, if we step out of our homes, we can wind up losing our lives in several ways. We can wind up losing our lives at the hands of these racist police officers. We can wind up losing our lives at the hands of one of these Pookies or one of these Sharkeeshas, or we could wind up losing our lives just basically just walking down the street. And again, that's a fear I have had to live with ever since I was about 12 years old. And that's a fear that, again, causes a lot of stress on black children, especially black boys. And it causes fear with black girls who, again, live in a home where their mother, basically, they're competing with their mother in the social marketplace because she's not at peace, because she doesn't have her husband in her life, or have that, and basically she's dealing with a man, and again, as the man is in the house, she's afraid he'll wind up leaving, and then on top of that, the man is not really into the mother, he's into the daughter, and again, that leads to a cycle of abuse, and again, that compounds the stress on the daughter and has the daughter eating to cope with everything, and has the mother coping. And again, as the mother isn't getting her emotional needs met, she's going on this job, and as she's on this job, she's eating because she basically can't lean on her husband or lean on a man. And as a result of there being no support structure in the black community, what has happened is that people turn to food, and as they turn to food, this is what I believe leads to the whole situation as related to all the obesity in the black community. All the obesity that comes from the black community comes from us not being able to work together and not being able to combat this system of white supremacy. And a lot of us, we cope with food. So I'm looking at the whole situation with obesity here in the black community, and I see a direct connection to black people's mental health, and their mental health suffers as related to being in this toxic country and dealing with this toxic culture. That's the thing that drives many black people to go to food to find comfort. But the sad part is that we can't find comfort in each other due to all the division that's going on in this community. All the division that's going on in this community basically is one of the reasons we basically are, again, eating, because things are eating us. And the sad part is we don't want to talk about what's eating us. And that's what's having this whole cancer in our community, basically eating up the lives of most of our brothers and sisters. Now, if you want to pick up some of my books on the SJS Direct Imprint, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers all across the internet. And a viewer basically asked for this video, but they never wanted to pay for it. But if you guys want to go out here and help me out so I can continue making content like this, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Esteem a New Woman. The devilish diva starts on the road to becoming a new creature in Christ in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem a New Woman at Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse. The man who rules the world gets a job offer he can't refuse in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.